Hi everyone, this is Veronica with Divine Spiritual Vet OS, and today I actually pulled an old podcast I did with one of my friends. She actually is very sensitive and she has a very strong empath ability. But today's story is about what basically caused that interest, because today she loves doing investigation, like paranormal investigation. She loves going to haunted houses. She likes taking tours. It just really tickles her in a way. So what made her come to this point in life? That's basically her story, her beginning part. And anybody who does anything with spirituality or any kind of thing besides spirituality has a starting point. So this is her story. And this is an old podcast that I did a couple of years ago, and I kind of just pulled it off of my Spotify. So here's the podcast.
Hi, Veronica. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I'm excited to be a part of this episode. Again, my name is Beth. Now, with spirituality, it's kind of always been a part of my life. It's always been something that I've been interested in. Something that just really caught my eye, caught my attention, and I could never shy away from it.
What was your first experience? What triggered you to start?
Okay, that's a good question. So actually, I'm from New York originally. I used to live in an apartment that was haunted. I didn't know at the time that it was haunted, but as time progressed and I started researching the spiritual realm, I was able to recognize that there was actually a spirit lingering. So I remember growing up, always hearing my name being called, and it would always sound like my mom. Beth. And I promise you, I would go straight to her and I would say, "Did you call me?" And she'd be like, "You hearing things?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So that was the first instance of okay, I'm hearing my name being called. Someone's talking to me. It's not somebody within the household. So who is speaking to me? So I remember I used to watch a lot of TV and I used to channel surf. I was not your typical kid. I wasn't into Nick Jr., Nickelodeon, none of that. I was more so into these paranormal shows. For some reason, as soon as I would see a paranormal show, my favorite was called The Haunting. Right away, I'd click on that and I would listen to it.
But you got scared, right? A couple times? Did it not scare you?
Oh, 100%. I would be scared out of my freaking mind. I was like, oh my gosh, can this really be a thing?
So you're just looking for answers to validate what you went through.
To see if anybody else had ever experienced this.
Mm-hmm. So you don't feel alone.
Right. So when I started seeing these shows, my mom would come in and she would watch me watching that. And that's where she actually expressed to me her own experiences. So then I'm sitting here thinking, oh wow, okay, someone knows something. Maybe not the same thing, but somebody knows something of what's going on.
And better yet, in your family, so you relate. Someone
I can speak to and that they won't think that I'm crazy. Because it almost felt like I was like, maybe I am hearing things, So I remember she would express being able to see certain spirits, being able to hear certain things. So when I told her, I'm hearing, obviously, a woman, and it was a woman that would say my name, and she would sound very similar to my mom. And I told her, I said, she's calling my name, don't know why, don't know what the hell's going on. So how do you deal with this? And at the time, she didn't know how to deal with it herself, because she was also afraid of her own gifts, being able to see them. Now, I could not see, but what I could do was hear and also sense. Because that's the thing. Even if I didn't know, based off her voice, that was a woman, I would get actually a mental picture of a woman.
So it's like a mind medium.
A mind medium.
A question to you, you did not fear the voice. It would be creepy to find yourself in your bedroom by yourself and then hearing some kind of voice. Was it because your mom's voice was so familiar to you, you didn't react to it in a negative way? Or is it because you got yourself used to it?
I think initially it sounded like my mom, so I wasn't afraid. And then once I found out it wasn't her, then a little bit of fear set in, because it's okay, what am I hearing? Why am I hearing this?
Yeah.
But then I was me being able to hear and not see, it was still a little bit of not as much fear. I think if I would have actually seen the spirit, that would have probably like really scared me. But me just hearing it kind of gave a little bit of comfort of like, okay, I could just hear them. That's it.
So from this experience, what made you branch off into?
So that kept me on the road of like paranormal investigating, wanting to see why are spirits here? Why is this woman lingering? So when I would watch these shows, I would see these groups and they would all have their own experiences, but they were also looking for answers. And that really, it became sort of an obsession because it was like, oh gosh, I wish I could do that because I need answers. I don't know what I'm hearing. What am I seeing in my head? Like, I have no sort of anything to go, like, to give me something to validate it. It's just me thinking and hearing or seeing in my mind.
That makes sense, to validate what you're experiencing so you don't feel crazy, but at the same time relating with other people who've gone through the same thing kind of helps you understand that, wait a minute, I'm not alone. There's more people out there. What else is going on out there?
Right.
To further, kind of experience this world that really is not many people put in the forefront.
And it honestly helped me connect, because that's the thing. This talking about this kind of topic with other people was so taboo back then.
Oh yeah.
Talking about it was like you were crazy, the good old schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe, because I didn't have an answer. But so using these shows, I was watching them get the evidence. I was watching them catch things on camera. I was watching them record things and get information, actually hear voices. And I was like, okay, so they're actually catching stuff. So what I'm hearing and possibly seeing in my mind is real. It's not something that's like me being crazy and thinking I'm schizophrenic. I was ready to check myself into a mental institution at one point. But part of me knew it wasn't that. Part of me knew that there's something else. I just don't know what it is, and I haven't tapped into it yet. So let's see what these shows pick up, and maybe I can gather information from there. So that was pretty much that lasted quite a long time. I didn't really get a chance, because I think I'm a kid, so I'm not going to be able to reach out.
What age were you? You were saying, if you remember.
I want to say maybe 6 or 7.
That was very young.
Very young, very young. And it just continued up until
It's like planting a seed.
Up until we officially moved to Florida back in 2010. So I was about 12 or 13. When I moved to Florida, I didn't get that. Now I wasn't hearing stuff.
Well, you would think New York is such an old city in a way where you would get more experiences, especially, I'm sure it was an apartment that was older.
The place was a lot older. I actually think I found out that there was actually someone that passed away in that apartment. Found that out later. And then I said, you need to say something about that next time. That's a little scary, to find out someone passed away in the home you're living in and you had no idea.
So now that you've experienced this at such a young age, and then you went to Florida, and I think 13 you say? Mm-hmm. So you continue in your kind of like your research in a way.
Yeah.
And now that you were old enough, you also went to start investigating, right?
Yes. So once I was able to be old enough and kind of getting my mom on the bandwagon, because I was like, I didn't want to do it myself. That was scary. So I was like, okay, someone who sees spirits, I'm going to get you on this bandwagon with me, because we're going to find out answers. Yeah. Okay, because we need to know what the heck is going on here. So we moved down to Florida. Come to find out, this is an old little city. I said, old city, old spirits, here we come. And I did my first ghost tour in Fort King in Ocala, and they took us along this strip, along this street, and they took us to a few houses, and they gave us some historical information and stuff like that, and they actually gave us tools. So I actually used the first EMF meter for the first time, and was able to experience how...
For people who don't know what EMF is, can you explain that?
So EMF is pretty much electromagnetic frequency. So spirits can actually manipulate, because they are on a different frequency, and they can pretty much use this machine, use their energy to light it up without me touching it. They're the ones that gotta pretty much manipulate it. Mm-hmm. But it's important to know, like, if you have cell phones or if you're near powering, or even water, because water is an energy conductor, that can also manipulate the results. So you have to make sure that when you are using this tool, that you're not around these specific things that can trigger it as well. Because then you can get it confused with spirit and other stuff.
Based on your investigation, I would say that you're very well-rounded with investigation tools.
Yes.
Also, you've had your share of investigation to understand, and you're very educated in understanding what some things may happen that could possibly, because we know everything is a gray.
Yeah.
Nothing is a for sure thing. Everybody's experience is different and unique to themselves. At the same time, every spirit comes in different ways and forms and present itself differently. So one person's experience can be different for another person.
Right.
So basically, but for this situation, I do know, because personally you are my friend, we know that you have gifts as well that help you because to this journey. So can you explain some of the gifts that you utilize to help you further investigate and do what you do now?
Okay. So the first gift that I was right away recognized was clairaudiency. Once I started figuring out the different clairs, claircognizant, clairaudient, then I was able to kind of put myself in which category. Now, when it came to the mind medium stuff, I wasn't fully sold on that yet. Only because
there's no way to prove it.
Right. There was no proof of it. So it was like, okay,
validation.
How can I really say that I'm this? So being able to hear spirit. Because I remember doing some of these tours. There were times where I did hear someone talking in the background. But at that point, it was still kind of, sometimes it's more muffled and not exactly as clear as...
A good tool to lead you to the right spot.
Right, exactly. So that one, right away, I was like, okay, I'm clairaudient. I can hear things. Hear different spirit on the other side. Okay, cool. So now when it comes to now figuring out other spiritual gifts, that didn't come until, I want to say maybe around 23. I think 23. Mm-hmm. That's when I actually met you and we started working together in a law firm. And and we got to talking, and actually you and I connected on that, and now I had somebody else to kind of validate
and explore
what I was hearing and seeing, and then hearing your own stories. Then I was like, okay, so there is now it's like this validation thing.
And we also went to that class to help us kind of embrace some sides of ourselves that we didn't even know we had by exploring different gifts that is out there that we never knew existed.
Exactly. When we started going to that class, that's when I started realizing I do have other gifts. Now, I think my clairaudiency is more stronger versus the others, because that's the one that's just been naturally more open versus the other ones. Now, I ended up realizing I have a very strong intuition, because there were many moments in my life growing up where I just knew certain things. Like, it was kind of like, because people would call me the old soul. Mm-hmm. A child being an old soul. I wasn't your typical kid. I just knew when not to do something, knew what kind of like things that a child wouldn't know right away. I already knew that. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm the different one here. Didn't know why. Was just going about my life. And then I also picked up on being able to, so that gift was discernment. I have the gift of discernment, being able to discern certain energies. Like if they weren't good, I kind of would stay clear. And if they were really good, I could just feel like...
You're also an empath too.
Yes.
Sometimes I did witness at one point when you had a spirit that was near you and didn't want to hold off. And you were crying because he was regretting a decision he made when he wasn't living that caused his death.
Yeah.
I think it also caused other people's death too.
Yes.
But you were feeling his regret. You were feeling his misery. You were feeling everything from that spirit. So I know you have that strong ability as well.
Yes. When we were doing that, and that spirit kind of, in a sense, latched on to me. Yeah. That's what it felt like. It was a latch, because it was like I couldn't get rid of it. It was this feeling of like, oh, I messed up. Oh my God, my kids are gone. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. How can I fix this? I can't fix them. They're gone. I messed up. And it was like this overwhelming, like,
sensation.
I didn't know where I was. It was just the spirit just saying, I'm here. And this is what's going on right now. And this is why I'm here. This is a problem. But the first instance of me being an empath, besides being connected to spirit, people's energies. Now, the first time I actually recognized it, it was in high school. It was about, I want to say 10th grade. I was about 14, maybe 15. I had gone into one of my classes, and this girl was here, and she was dealing with some personal stuff, but she was very angry. Now, I was a little nosy. I kind of wanted to know what she was angry about, but I didn't get in her business. But as the class went on, I was like slowly getting agitated, irritated, annoyed. And I'm sitting here like, why am I mad? I came to class just fine. I was happy. It was a good day. And then I look over at her, and she's pretty much foaming at the mouth. She's irritated for whatever reason.
So you're picking up on her energy.
And I realized, I was like, oh, that's not mine.
I don't own it. Give it back.
I was like, that's not mine. That's hers. And I'm picking up on her energy. And then...
So do you, for those who may have experience that you're just experiencing now, are you able to, have you conquered your empath feeling to help others? So what would you give to those people's advice?
The biggest thing is when you are an empath and you're feeling others' emotions, whether it's spirit or somebody else in the room, figure out, like, if it's an angry feeling or a sad feeling. You have to differentiate. Is there a reason for me to be angry or sad? Because that's how it helps
to identify.
me. Identify. Because I walked in there, I was happy. Now I'm all of a sudden upset. It didn't make any sense. So then at that point, I was able to realize that's hers. That's not mine.
So you kind of rebuked it.
Then I was like, okay, I don't want that anger. That's your anger. That's not mine. And at that point, it was able to kind of cease. And I was able to kind of just go about my day.
Awesome.
So
now, that's really good, because that's going to help a lot of people that or empath that can't control their ability to, tell the difference between it's their emotion or other people's emotions, or even spirits too. So that's really good advice to give to those. Another question I do have is, what has spirituality done for you as a person? Growth, awakening. What having empath or clairaudience help you, and these investigation done for you as an individual, as a person?
Now with that, this is the biggest thing, because sometimes I think spirituality can have this great, and don't get me wrong, it's great, but there's a side of it that's maybe not so great initially, because it'll make you realize certain things about yourself that you didn't know before. One of my biggest issues was fear of change. Spirit universe, it helped me to realize I have an issue and I don't know where it stemmed from. Now I have to unpack all of this.
To reflect on it, because the reality is, when you're channeling, when you're working with your spiritual gifts, these earthly bound situations can affect how open you are. So I started connecting, because when we were in those classes, we would have to practice channeling. And I'm wondering, why can I not be as great as this person or this person? Because emotion, like one of those teachings said that if your emotions become so dominant, you're not able to really harness certain gifts or perfect it or improve on it. Exactly. So we have to kind of, not, I would say, control our emotions, but manage it in a better way. So it doesn't get in our way of spirituality. Right. Since I suffer from anxiety, that closed off a lot of these, especially that mind medium. It closed off that particular gift in general. So I had to really start unpacking. Why am I getting anxiety? What's triggering me? What's going on? And at that point, I was able to pinpoint certain things. I'm still working on it. There's still more stuff to unpack. That's the thing. The mind is so powerful. It'll make you forget all these traumas, all these issues that you didn't want to face at the time. And the only way you can actually revisit them is when you trigger. Even sometimes that doesn't even, identify you had a trauma. And sometimes spirit will do that. That encounter that I had with that one spirit that was latched onto me, the let go, feeling of guiltiness. Now, granted, I didn't do anything as crazy that realization as he did, but I do have sometimes feelings of guilt.
like if I'm just not doing enough for somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it kind of, I think he in a sense related to me in that sense. And then there was just no boundary line of where he started and where I ended. That was the problem there. But he made me realize other things I do need to work on. So spirituality, it's the most beautiful thing, but it can be very tricky when you have to unpack all the stuff that you learned, now unlearning.
They're facing stuff that you really don't want to face, or challenges that you didn't think you have, but in reality you need to change to get to a point in life. I'm very glad to be able to sit down and talk to you about your spirituality. I know a lot of people may have questions later on. Maybe we'll do a revisit on those. I hope with your spiritual investigation we can elaborate on some of that.
Yes, definitely.
This is more of an introduction for Beth. She's going to be coming on the podcast for Spiritual Vet OS frequently, and she's going to be telling more details and maybe even some lessons and learning of how you can take advantage of your gifts, how you can manage it, or you can not perfect it but improve on it. And it's always great to hear other people and what they're capable of doing, because again, like she said, so we know we're not alone.
Right.
We there's others out there, others that we can relate to, others that can have the same experience or a crazier experience that, yours might not be less of one, but it relates in some way that can help you see it differently.
It's a community that can help each other to grow with their gifts and even with their own souls.
Yes, the souls.
And achieve that collective and soul mission.
Yeah, because we want to always improve as a person. And I think spirituality does help us that way too. As a person, we grow, we're awakened, we see more and deeper. We have to face our own challenges, face our own flaws, face our own setbacks to improve.
Right.
But so thankful, Beth. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast today, and looking forward to another one in the future.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, that was it for her podcast. Thank you if you guys made it this point. Thank you for listening to Beth's story. In the near future, I'll make more voiceover of stories of different varieties. Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.